Good evening and welcome to Global Ins News. I'm Sadia Afzal. For decades, the relationship between the United States and Israel has been regarded as one of the strongest alliances in modern international politics. The two countries have shared intelligence, coordinated military operations, supported each other diplomatically, and worked closely on some of the most complex security challenges in the Middle East. That is why recent reports suggesting that the Pentagon has elevated concerns about Israeli espionage activities against the United States have generated significant attention across diplomatic and security circles worldwide. According to reports citing current and former US officials, the Pentagon's Defense Intelligence Agency, or DIA, has allegedly raised Israel's counterintelligence threat assessment to a critical level. The concern is not that Israel sees America as an adversary. Rather, the concern is that Israeli intelligence services may be aggressively attempting to collect information about the Trump administration's internal discussions and decision-making regarding the rapidly evolving situation in the Middle East, particularly concerning Iran and regional security. It is important to note that both Israel and the White House have strongly rejected these allegations. Israeli officials have described the claims as completely false, insisting that Israeli intelligence activities are directed at enemies rather than allies. The White House has similarly dismissed the reports. Yet, regardless of where the truth ultimately lies, the very fact that such concerns are reportedly being discussed within America's national security establishment raises important questions about the current state of relations between Washington and Tel Aviv. Many people assume that allies do not spy on one another. The reality is often very different. Throughout history, even the closest allies have collected intelligence on each other. Governments seek information because information provides strategic advantage. Intelligence agencies exist to reduce uncertainty, and that mission does not necessarily stop simply because another country is considered friendly. The United States itself has been involved in intelligence collection against allies. The 2013 Edward Snowden revelations exposed how American intelligence agencies monitored communications involving friendly governments, including senior European leaders. Germany reacted furiously when reports emerged that then-Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone had been monitored. The incident demonstrated a simple reality of international politics. Nations often gather intelligence wherever they believe their interests require it. Israel has long been viewed as possessing one of the most capable and aggressive intelligence systems in the world. Agencies such as Mossad, Aman, and Shin Bet have earned global reputations for their sophistication, reach, and effectiveness. Israeli intelligence operations have played major roles in counter-terrorism efforts, hostage rescues, covert operations, and the tracking of adversaries across multiple continents. However, Israel's intelligence history has also produced moments of serious tension with the United States. Perhaps the most famous example is the Jonathan Pollard affair. Pollard was a civilian intelligence analyst working for the US Navy during the 1980s. He held access to highly sensitive classified information and was entrusted with protecting some of America's most valuable intelligence secrets. Instead, he secretly passed thousands of classified documents to Israeli handlers. The information reportedly included military assessments, intelligence reports, surveillance data, and highly sensitive national security material. When American authorities uncovered the operation, Pollard was arrested in 1985. He later pleaded guilty and received a life sentence. The scandal shocked Washington. The fact that the operation involved Israel, one of America's closest allies, made it damaging. Many US intelligence officials felt betrayed, arguing that an ally should never have attempted to recruit and exploit an American intelligence employee in such a manner. Israel initially denied official responsibility for the operation. However, over time, it acknowledged involvement and eventually granted Pollard Israeli citizenship. The affair remained a major source of tension between the two countries for decades. Pollard spent 30 years in prison before being released on parole in 2015. He later relocated to Israel, where some political figures welcomed him as a hero. In the United States, however, many intelligence professionals continued to regard him as one of the most damaging spies in modern American history. The Pollard affair remains important because it never completely disappeared from the institutional memory of the American intelligence community. Whenever concerns emerge about Israeli intelligence activities inside the United States, many officials inevitably remember the events of the 1980s and the trust that was broken during that period. Against that historical backdrop, the current reports become even more significant. The allegations emerged at a time when President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly faced growing differences over how to manage the ongoing confrontation involving Iran. While both governments remain committed to preventing Iran from expanding its regional influence and military capabilities, there appear to be disagreements regarding tactics, timing, and long-term objectives. Reports suggest that President Trump has shown interest in exploring diplomatic pathways and arrangements that could reduce the risk of a wider regional conflict. Israel, meanwhile, has remained deeply skeptical of Iranian intentions and has consistently emphasized the importance of maintaining military pressure. From Israel's perspective, understanding the internal debates taking place inside the Washington House, the Pentagon, and the broader US national security apparatus would be enormously valuable. Decisions made in Washington could determine whether military operations continue, whether diplomatic negotiations advance, and how American power is deployed throughout the Middle East. For Israeli policymakers, these are not abstract questions. They directly affect Israel's national security and strategic calculations. This helps explain why intelligence collection can become particularly intense during periods of disagreement among allies. When governments are fully aligned, uncertainty is limited. When differences begin to emerge, intelligence agencies naturally seek greater clarity regarding the intentions and plans of even their closest partners. If the reported Pentagon assessment is accurate, the immediate consequences may be relatively limited. US and Israeli intelligence agencies continue to cooperate extensively. Military coordination remains strong. Joint defense projects continue to operate. Information sharing related to regional threats remains extensive. Neither country can easily afford to abandon such cooperation. Nevertheless, trust remains one of the most important foundations of any alliance. Military capabilities matter, economic ties matter, shared interests matter, but alliances ultimately depend upon confidence that partners will respect certain boundaries. If senior American officials begin to suspect that sensitive internal deliberations are being targeted by a friendly nation, concerns about trust inevitably arise. The timing is particularly significant because the Middle East is currently undergoing profound transformation. The region remains affected by tensions involving Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, and broader competition among regional powers. Decisions made in Washington and Tel Aviv influence not only the Middle East, but also global energy markets, international diplomacy, military deployments, and the policies of governments across Europe and Asia. Another important question is whether these reports represent a temporary dispute or a sign of deeper strategic divergence. Historically, the United States and Israel have experienced disagreements before. American presidents and Israeli prime ministers have clashed over settlements, military operations, peace negotiations, and regional diplomacy. Yet, despite these disputes, the broader alliance has remained remarkably resilient. This may ultimately prove to be another example of temporary friction between two countries whose overall strategic interests remain closely aligned. However, history also teaches that alliances evolve. Relationships change as geopolitical realities change. Differences that once seemed manageable can gradually grow more significant if they are not carefully addressed. For observers around the world, this episode offers an important lesson about the realities of international relations. Publicly, governments speak of friendships, partnerships, and shared values. Privately, however, every nation seeks information, protects its interests, and prepares for uncertainty. Intelligence gathering is often a reflection not of hostility but of caution. Even among allies, information is power. Even among partners, uncertainty creates incentives for intelligence collection. And even within the strongest alliances, trust must continually be earned and maintained. For many Americans working in intelligence and national security, the shadow of Jonathan Pollard has never completely disappeared. That is one reason why reports of renewed Israeli intelligence activity against the United States attract such serious attention, even 4 decades later. Whether these latest allegations are ultimately proven, disproven, or somewhere in between, they have already sparked an important debate about the future of one of the world's most important strategic partnerships. The real story is not simply about espionage. It is about trust. It is about competing priorities. It is about the difficult choices facing governments as the Middle East enters yet another period of uncertainty. And perhaps most importantly, it is about whether the United States and Israel can preserve the confidence that has sustained their alliance for generations, or whether growing differences over Iran and regional security are beginning to expose cracks that were once hidden beneath the surface. The answer to that question may shape the future of the Middle East for years to come. This is Sadia Afzal for Global Ins News.